Hi guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and welcome back to another around the house tutorial. So the item that was voted in last time was crayons, and it was a close call between this or eggshells. So if you'd like to vote for the next episode's item that we're going to use, please check the link in the description below to go and vote for the next item. But for today we're going to be using crayons. So I've chosen a selection of blues and purples because I'm going with an ice theme today. You're also going to need some pearl white polymer clay, a little thicker than what you're going to want your earrings, and also some alcohol inks. They don't have to be pearlescent. I like the pearlescent ones, but they don't have to be. You could just use regular non-pearlescent alcohol inks. The important thing is that they match with the colours of your crayons. And of course some cutters. So put this to the side. Now I recommend a heat gun for this tutorial. I'm using an Ozito heat gun. You can use an oven, it's just going to be a little bit of a slower process there. So I'm going to bring over a metal cutter. Anything that can hold your crayon pieces in one spot while you're using the heat gun or popping it in the oven, because you don't want it to spill all over the place. So I'm just going to take a bit of scrap clay and I'm going to stick it on either end just to hold the metal in place. Now again, any piece of metal will work, it doesn't need to be a metal cutter, just something to hold the crayons in place. Then I'm going to take the crayons and I'm just going to flake them into here. And they can be chunky. Doesn't really matter, just flake them in like so. And if you want to reuse these crayon bits, because you're not going to be able to use all of them in this project just because you're going to have excess, make sure that you're doing it on a tile that you can reuse at any point. Just flake some more in before you do the next project and then you won't end up with crayon waste. And any crayons will work for this. We're mostly using it for texture. It's going to add a bit of colour, but it's not as important as the texture. Your colour's mostly going to be coming from your alcohol inks. This is just going to leave you with a light tint. So just flake them in, like so, until you've got a little bit in there. It doesn't need to be too much. And then we're going to I'm going to use the heat gun, but you can also put it into the oven for about 15 minutes or however long it takes for the crayons to melt into somewhat of an even spread. So there we go, we've got just about everything that we need. I'm going to take that bit out because we don't want a huge piece in there. We want them all to be roughly the same size. Okay. And if you have any on the outside, pick them up and pop them in as well. Okay. And I also popped in a little bit of crayon shavings from my previous attempt at this, just basically when I was testing out this method and I didn't want to waste it, so I've popped some of that in there as well. Then you're going to take your heat gun or put it in the oven for 15 minutes, but if it's a heat gun, just heat it until it's melted. It's quicker. And hold it from a height. There we go. Put the heat gun to the side because it's very hot at the moment, and please be careful with this piece of metal, it is also very hot, so just use something like gloves to pick it up. Okay, now that tile is going to be a little hot, so I'm working on a ceramic tile just by the way, so it's going to keep the crayons relatively soft for a bit. We are going to have to reheat it, but that's fine. I'm just going to cut out my earring pair. And I'm using pebbles because I feel like that works with the kind of fractured ice theme that I'm going with. Now, again, make sure that the clay that you are using is a little thicker than what you want earrings to actually be. Also, I find white works best with this. I'm using pearl white, but any white or light coloured clay works best for this. black works alright as well, but you're not going to get the colour tint, you're only really going to be getting the texture. Now I'm quickly going to reheat this and then I'll show you what we're going to do. Now it takes just a bit to warm it up, and because we're doing it on a tile it will stay warm for a bit. Then pop your clay down into that melted wax, and this won't be enough to cure your clay completely. Okay, then I've got a piece of paper off to the side ready to go. And please be careful because this is a little hot still. I'm going to just use this to help me get this up. Lift that up, and I actually have left that for too long. The crayons have cured there. That's what I actually want to happen. So if this happens, just reheat the wax and apply your clay again. There we go, and that's what I was looking for, but you can re-dip it as many times as you need to. Now, what I want to do, don't worry about it looking untidy and everything, that's perfectly fine. Pop a piece of paper over, bring over an acrylic block, and the reason we're doing this with an acrylic block rather than a roller is so that both pieces get squished to the same thickness. If you did them separately with a roller, they wouldn't be as even. So just press down, and the clay is going to be quite warm at this point in time, so it should squish pretty easily. Okay, and you're going to get different results every time with this, so don't get too attached until you get right to the end. Okay, let's lift that up. And there we go, you can see how that's gone. Now this one's texture I like, this one not so much. So I'm going to kind of help it along in that regard by just kind of pressing around like so. And then burnishing again. To kind of get it to separate out a little bit. But you'll still end up with some texture. There you can see that's helping it. So just move it around and get it to do what you want it to do. There we go, that's a bit better. Then grab your cutters from before, and I might actually fuss with this one a little bit as well. There we go, just fussed with it a bit. Then grab your cutter, just cut out your piece again. And I'm choosing the areas that I think look the most interesting. Okay. And now don't mix this clay back with anything because it has crayons in it. You can pop that in with scrap and we'll revisit that in a later tutorial. Now, for these, I'm just going to pop off that excess crayon, wherever that came from. Then I'm going to pop another piece of paper over the top, and then you're going to bake that for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature so that the clay bakes and also so that the crayon melts. You're going to tip it over like so, and then the crayon is going to absorb into the paper, leaving you with a texture and a slight tint. Okay, and here they are out of the oven. Now they're still quite warm, and I'm going to do that and lift up the wax because you're going to have to dab it a few times while it's hot to absorb it off those pieces. You can see that we have quite a bit of wax there. So I'm just dabbing that. I'm actually going to bring this over to clean up the last of that. But there, it will leave you with a bit of a tint, but it's mostly going to give you this really cool texture. Peel your pieces up off the paper, and I do this generally while it's all still quite warm because it's going to be a little it's going to have warped a little bit on the paper, but that's not really a big problem. Warped as in it won't be lying completely flat. Okay, so these ones tinting actually came out really nicely. Sometimes they're not quite as nice as this, so I have another pair over here. Ignore this one, This one is another one that came out of the oven that I quite like, and I think would match nicely with that one in terms of texture. This one, however, is a little boring, and I think could benefit from the alcohol ink sanding treatment. So put these to the side. We will tend to those in a little bit. It's really going to depend on what it looks like when it comes out. So if it comes out and you're not overly thrilled by the pattern, grab your alcohol inks. Again, remember, you don't have to they don't have to be metallic. You're just going to need colours that match your piece. I'm going to move that out of the way so it doesn't get messed up. And then I'm just going to brush that alcohol ink over the surface in a nice thin layer. And this is just going to do a better job of highlighting the texture. And of course I'm going to give it a sand to bring out some of that pearl white again. But you're just going to add a bit of alcohol ink just to deepen that colour. Okay, there we go. Okay, now I've got these two because I want to sand them just a touch to bring out the white. But let's do this one first. I'm going to be using a 1200 wet dry sandpaper, just because I want to rub off a little bit of the alcohol ink. You don't need an aggressive sand for this. And it should take literally seconds to sand off what you need. And then just clean that off. And there you go, you've got yourself a nice interesting pattern. And you can sand as much as you want, or as little as you want. I'm just going to go over these areas just to make them a little bit more white. Okay. And then just remember to clean them off. And I would sand the sides. The back should be okay, but that might need some sanding. So that goes with that one, because they have both the same technique. These two I'm going to do the same thing with. I'm going to give them a quick sand. I'm going to actually leave that one because that one's quite nice. This one I want to give a quick sand, just to bring out a little bit more of a highlight. And it is going to be sanding away some wax, so all of those flaky bits that you see, that's the wax. But we're going to seal that, so that's fine. Just clean that all up. Finish up any sanding that may need to be done, and then we're going to finish them off. Okay, and once they're done, let me turn these around. So these are the ones that did not receive the alcohol ink. These are the ones that did receive the alcohol ink. So these are going to end up being a little darker, just because obviously you put alcohol ink on them, and that's going to be more than just a stain. Where's my camera doing that? There we go. These ones are more just a stain, but it's really about this texture and the really nice fractal look. Bear in mind that you can change the colour of the cane, the crayon, and the alcohol ink, because obviously crackles can go with everything. You could do a dry earth theme with kind of browns and yellows. You could do a jungle theme with kind of moss with greens and browns. Lots of different ways that you could use this technique. You don't have to just be stuck with blues. So we do need to seal that in. Now I'm going to do that is I'm going to use varnish. I'm just going to pop a nice coat of gloss over the top. And this is Varathane Gloss Varnish. And just pop that over the surface. Now the most important thing to keep in mind with this technique is that you are going to get a different result each time. So if you like each piece to look exactly the same, this is not the technique for you. Part of what I enjoy about it is the fact that it is so random and each piece is completely unique. You will never be able to recreate it, and that's part of the joy of this technique, is creating completely unique pieces each and every time. So let me know in the comments what you thought about this project, and if you liked it, please leave a like on the video. It is greatly appreciated. And don't forget to check out that voting poll, as we will be deciding what the next around the house item will be that we combine with polymer clay. So I'll just finish up varnishing these, and then when they're dry we can assemble them. And there they are, now that they have finished drying. So I've also just quickly assembled the earring pieces, because I show that in most of our videos, and so I'm just kind of trimming the video length down, since a lot of you do seem to drop off around that point. And I can understand that it's not exactly the most exciting thing in the world, but basically you're just going to drill your pieces with a pin drill, and then you're going to assemble them, easy peasy. So anyway, that's basically it for the tutorial. If you liked it, please do let me know in the comments below. If you have questions also, I'll try to get to those as soon as possible. And if you'd like to support the channel so that I can continue making videos like this one, please do consider becoming a member or a patron. There is a link to that in the description below, and it is greatly appreciated. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.